Somewhere in the world, right now, someone is standing by a frosted window, watching their breath fog up the glass and feeling more alive than they ever do on a hot summer afternoon. While most people are counting down the days until the sun comes back, they're counting down the days until the first snowfall. If that sounds like you, if you've ever felt more like yourself in a heavy coat than in a swimsuit, more at peace in silence and gray skies than in loud beaches and bright light, then this video was made for you. Because loving winter isn't just a preference. It's a window into how your mind actually works. Every year, the same debate resurfaces online. Summer people versus winter people. It sounds trivial, almost like a personality quiz question you'd find in a magazine. But underneath that simple preference lies something far more revealing, a pattern connected to how your brain handles stimulation, how you process emotion, how much structure you need to feel safe, and even how you define connection and meaning. This isn't about liking scarves more than swimsuits, it's about which environment allows your mind to finally stop performing and just exist. Today we're going to explore why some people are wired to crave the cold, the dark, and the quiet, while the rest of the world chases the sun. We'll look at the science of introversion, the psychology of sensory processing, the surprising comfort some people find in melancholy, and the deep, almost ancestral need for stillness that winter satisfies in a way no other season can. And by the end of this video, you might finally understand a part of yourself that you never had the words for. Section 1. The Introverts Season. Let's start with the most obvious connection, because it's also the deepest one, the link between winter and introversion. Summer is loud. It's barbecues, pool parties, crowded beaches, music festivals, and an unspoken social pressure to get out there and be seen. For extroverted people, this is paradise, an entire season built around stimulation and connection. But for introverts, summer can feel like being permanently on stage. Winter flips the script. The cold gives people permission to stay in. Nobody questions you for choosing a night in with a book over a rooftop party when it's 4 degrees outside and getting dark at 5 in the afternoon. Winter, in a strange way, is the one season where solitude isn't just accepted, it's expected. Psychologically, introverts don't dislike people. They simply recharge through quiet, internal reflection rather than external stimulation. Winter naturally creates the conditions for that. Shorter days, fewer obligations, and a cultural permission slip to slow down. For someone whose nervous system is wired for lower stimulation, winter doesn't feel like a hardship. It feels like finally being able to exhale. Think about the last time you turned down a summer invitation and felt a small pang of guilt, as if you were somehow failing at being social. Now think about turning down a winter invitation to stay in with tea and a blanket. It barely registers as strange. That's the cultural double standard introverts live with all year, except in winter, when their natural rhythm finally matches the rhythm of the world around them. For a few months, they're not the odd one out for wanting a quiet Friday night. They're just being seasonal. Section 2. Comfort in melancholy. Here's something that might surprise you. Some people don't just tolerate winter's melancholic mood, they're drawn to it. There's a psychological concept called sad happy, or more formally, the appreciation of bittersweet emotion. Research on music and mood has shown that certain people don't experience sadness or nostalgia as purely negative. Instead, they experience it as rich, textured, and meaningful, almost comforting in its depth. Winter is drenched in this kind of emotional texture. The bare trees, the early sunsets, the hush that falls over a snow-covered street, these aren't just aesthetically pleasing to certain people, they're emotionally resonant. For people who process the world in a reflective, introspective way, winter's melancholy doesn't feel like something to escape. It feels like being met exactly where they are. This is often true for people who are naturally more contemplative, the ones who journal, who overthink, who find beauty in sad songs and rainy windows. Summer's relentless positivity can almost feel dishonest to them, like everyone is performing happiness. Winter, with its honesty about endings and stillness, feels more emotionally real. There's also a well-documented link between certain personality traits, particularly high openness to experience, and an appreciation for melancholic aesthetics. People high in openness tend to seek out complex, layered emotional experiences rather than simple, purely pleasant ones. A gray sky isn't depressing to them, it's atmospheric. A quiet, empty street isn't lonely. It's poetic. Where someone else sees the absence of sunshine, they see a canvas for reflection. This is why so many winter lovers gravitate toward moody music, slow cinema, and long walks in the cold. Not because they're chasing sadness, but because they're chasing depth. Section 3. Highly sensitive people and sensory overload. Now let's talk about something more physiological. Sensory sensitivity. Roughly 15 to 20% of the population falls into a category psychologists call highly sensitive persons, or HSPs. These individuals process sensory information, light, sound, texture, temperature, more deeply than the average person. And summer, frankly, is a sensory assault. Blazing sunlight, sticky heat, crowded spaces, loud outdoor events, the constant hum of air conditioners and traffic. For a highly sensitive nervous system, all of this adds up fast. It's not that HSPs are fragile. It's that their brains are simply taking in more data per second, and an overstimulating environment drains them faster than it drains everyone else. Winter, by contrast, is sensory relief. The light is softer. The air is crisper, but calmer. The world quite literally slows down. Fewer people outside, fewer sounds, less visual chaos. For someone whose nervous system is constantly filtering an overwhelming amount of input, winter isn't just a season. It's a form of regulation. There's a physical layer to this too. Heat itself is physiologically activating. It raises heart rate, increases irritability, and disrupts sleep. Cold, within a comfortable range, tends to have the opposite effect. It slows the body down, encourages deeper rest, and even improves sleep quality by helping core body temperature drop, which is the exact signal your brain uses to initiate sleep. So when a highly sensitive person says winter feels calmer, they're not exaggerating. Their body is, quite literally, calmer. Section 4. The psychology of control and predictability. Here's a pattern you'll notice in a lot of winter lovers: a strong preference for structure, order, and predictability. Summer is chaotic by nature. Plans change constantly. Schedules loosen. Spontaneity is celebrated. For some people, that's freeing. But for people who find comfort in routine, summer's unpredictability can feel destabilizing rather than exciting. Winter offers the opposite. Cold weather naturally narrows your options. You wear similar clothes. You follow similar routines. You stay closer to home. Psychologically, this reduction in choice can actually lower anxiety for people who thrive on structure, a phenomenon related to what researchers call choice overload. When there are fewer variables to manage, the mind has more room to think clearly, plan, and focus. People who love winter often describe feeling more productive, more focused, and more in control during the colder months. It's not a coincidence. Winter creates a kind of externally imposed discipline that some minds find deeply reassuring. There's also a subtler psychological reward at play: mastery over discomfort. Learning to dress properly for the cold, building a warm and functional home environment, developing small rituals like a morning hot drink or an evening routine under blankets. These are all tiny acts of competence. Every winter, people who love the season are quietly proving to themselves that they can handle hardship and still create comfort within it. That sense of "I've got this," even when conditions are difficult, builds a quiet, durable form of self-confidence that a mild, easy summer simply doesn't offer. Section 5. The symbolism of stillness and renewal. There's also something symbolic happening here. Something almost archetypal. Winter, across nearly every culture, represents rest, hibernation, and quiet transformation. Trees don't die in winter. They conserve energy underground, preparing for what comes next. Many winter lovers describe an intuitive, unspoken understanding of this cycle in their own lives. They don't see winter as an ending. They see it as a necessary pause. This mirrors a psychological need that's often overlooked in a culture obsessed with constant productivity and visibility: the need for dormancy. Not everyone is meant to be on all the time. Some people do their best inner work, their healing, their thinking, their creative processing, in quiet, low-stimulation periods. Winter gives them cultural permission to slow down without guilt because everyone else is slowing down too. Where summer says, go, do, be seen, winter says, rest, reflect, prepare. For a certain kind of mind, that second message feels like relief. You'll often hear winter lovers describe their favorite moments in almost identical language. Sitting by a window watching snowfall, wrapped in something warm, with nowhere urgent to be. Ask them what they're thinking about in that moment, and the answer is rarely nothing. It's usually everything. The year behind them, the year ahead, a decision they've been avoiding, an idea they haven't had time to sit with. Winter doesn't just permit that kind of reflection. In many ways, it invites it, the same way a closed door invites a private conversation. Section 6. The comfort of Hygge and physical safety. Let's talk about something deceptively simple: physical comfort. There's a reason the Danish concept of Hygge, a feeling of cozy contentment, usually associated with blankets, candlelight, warm drinks, and soft indoor lighting, has become so globally beloved. It taps into something deeply psychological: our need for felt safety. Cold weather activates a very old, very human instinct, the instinct to seek shelter, warmth, and closeness. When you wrap yourself in a blanket while it's snowing outside, your brain registers something ancient and comforting. I am protected, I am safe, I am warm while the world outside is not. This contrast is powerful. Psychologists refer to it as sensory contrast comfort, the pleasure we feel from experiencing safety and warmth specifically because there is cold and difficulty just outside the door. Summer doesn't offer this same contrast. When it's already warm everywhere, warmth stops feeling special. Winter, paradoxically, is what makes coziness possible at all. This is also tied to something developmental psychologists call felt security, the deep, often unconscious sense that you are protected, held, and safe from harm. As children, many of us first experienced felt security through being wrapped up, kept warm, and sheltered from a world that was, quite literally, colder and bigger than us. It makes sense then that as adults, recreating that exact sensation, warmth inside, cold outside, a closed door between you and the elements, can trigger a kind of nostalgic, nervous system-level comfort that no beach vacation can replicate. Winter doesn't just feel cozy. For a lot of people, it feels like being taken care of. Section 7. Depth over display. Finally, let's talk about identity. Because how someone relates to a season often says something about how they relate to themselves. Summer, culturally, is tied to display. Bodies, beaches, parties, being seen. It rewards extroversion and visibility. Winter, on the other hand, is tied to depth. Layers of clothing, hidden faces, quiet rooms, long books, slow conversations. It rewards interiority. People who are drawn to winter often describe themselves as people who value substance over spectacle. They'd rather have one meaningful conversation by candlelight than attend 10 parties. They'd rather be known deeply by a few people than seen briefly by many. This isn't about being antisocial. It's about a different theory of what connection and meaning actually look like. In many ways, preferring winter over summer isn't really about temperature at all. It's about which version of the world feels more honest to you. The bright, loud, visible one. Or the quiet, layered, reflective one. Section 8. The role of nostalgia and memory. One more piece of this puzzle is often overlooked. Nostalgia. Memory researchers have found that scent, temperature, and light are some of the most powerful triggers for autobiographical memory, the specific, personal memories that make up our sense of self. For a lot of winter lovers, the cold isn't just a physical sensation, it's a doorway back to some of the most emotionally significant moments of their lives. The smell of a fireplace, the particular quality of light on a snowy morning, the sound of a heater clicking on in a quiet house. These small sensory details are often anchored to childhood memories, holidays, or periods of life that felt safe, slow, and meaningful. This is part of why winter can feel less like a season, and more like a homecoming for certain people. It's not just that they enjoy the cold in the present moment, it's that the cold reconnects them, briefly, to a version of themselves and their past that summer simply doesn't access in the same way. Nostalgia, in this sense, isn't sadness. It's psychological continuity, a reminder that who you are now is connected to who you've always been. So if you've ever felt a strange sense of relief the moment the leaves start falling and the air turns cold, if you've ever felt more like yourself wrapped in a blanket during a snowstorm, than lying on a beach in July. Know that this isn't some quirky personality flaw. It's a genuine psychological pattern, rooted in how your nervous system processes stimulation, how your mind finds meaning in melancholy, and how deeply you value stillness, structure, and depth over noise and spectacle. You're not missing out by not loving summer. You're simply built for a different rhythm, one that values reflection over display, comfort over chaos, and quiet depth over loud visibility. And honestly, in a world that never stops demanding your energy, that might be one of the healthiest instincts you could have. If this video helped you understand yourself, or someone you love, a little better, let us know in the comments which season truly feels like home to you. And if you want more videos exploring the psychology behind the little things that make you who you are, make sure to subscribe because we're just getting started. We'll see you in the next one.